Hello, and welcome to Legislative Report. I'm State Representative David Millard of the 109th District in Columbia County. The young people of today face an entirely different world of peer pressure than their parents ever knew. Drugs aren't just found on the street, they're also found in our medicine cabinets. Pennsylvania has the 14th highest rate of prescription drug overdoses in the country. Parents, lawmakers, and educators must constantly be aware of new trends that can be of a danger to our children. And with that goal in mind, I recently sponsored an event at Central Columbia High School. Students heard a presentation from the Pennsylvania Attorney General's office encouraging them to make good choices and to tell an adult if they know a friend involved in drugs. On today's program, I'd like to share a small part of this presentation, beginning with my House colleague, Representative Kurt Mosser, who shares his family's story of loss.
1 year ago, if you would have asked me, name one person in your family who would never be involved in drugs, I would have said that would be my niece Erica. Well, the day after Thanksgiving last year, we buried Erica from a heroin overdose. Since then, it's opened up the floodgates, people coming into my office and talking about their own struggles and their own losses. I heard from a man from Shamokin who had a son who, as a child, was afraid of needles so bad they had to hold him down when he just went in to get his immunization shots. Or if they went and took him in for a tetanus shot, they had to hold him down to have a needle put into him. But he was out with friends, and the friends offered him a prescription drug. And the thought was, well, it's a prescription drug. It can't be dangerous. It's prescription. He was hooked on prescription drugs shortly thereafter. The stories I heard from his father going into the parts of Philadelphia that none of us would want to go into, in other cities across the state, armed because he was afraid for his own life. The father was afraid for his own life, looking for his son, looking to save his son. The things that he did in his own neighborhood to keep the people who were supplying the drugs away from him was absolutely horrible. He lost his son. Found him robbed in a street in Philadelphia. The woman from Southern Columbia who lost her daughter, how she just denied that her daughter could be involved in the problem, only to find out that it in fact was true, and she lost her daughter. Another man from Danville and a separate woman from Cole Township both had boys. Both got involved in prescription drugs, went to other drugs. They struggled with these drugs for a long time. Both boys took their own lives because of their heroin epidemics or drug epidemics or drug addictions. Also, the young man who had back surgery. Doctors gave him painkillers. He got hooked on the painkillers. He struggled with this for decades. He survived, but every day for him is a challenge. You see, addiction is a disease. We don't have to hide it. If we have any other disease, we don't hide it. We seek treatment. If your friend had diabetes, you'd seek treatment wherever you could. If you had cancer, you would seek treatment. You would do whatever it took to save your friends' lives. But yet in this culture, we seem to hide it. We seem to think that we are all alone. My sister, as she dealt with the loss of her daughter, it was horrible to watch. First, the pure agony of losing a child, the embarrassment of your child losing to a drug problem, feeling like you're all alone. You're not all alone. When I talked to, after losing my niece, I went into a number of schools and I talked to the young people and I asked different classes. We were in small settings and I asked different classes, I said, if you had a friend who was involved in drugs, Would you feel comfortable talking to any adult in that school and letting them know your friend had a problem? Every single one of them said they wouldn't talk to an adult. They wouldn't tell them. It would be betraying the friendship. I got to thinking about it, and it came to me too late to share with them. I went back to share it with them, but you know, when in times like that, you have a choice. Either you lose your friendship, and you might because you've told on that person, or would you rather lose your friend? You know, times have changed from when we were young and we were in school. We faced pressures, we had stresses, but the opportunities that we had were different. We may have seen marijuana, we may have seen alcohol when we were going through in your age. But you face so many different pressures. And, you know, we want to be there to help you face those pressures and make the right decisions. We often say, you know, we're state leaders now, county leaders now. But we always say, you know, and it's the truth, you are our future leaders. You're the ones who are going to govern. You're the ones who are going to say, this is the way it's going to be. This is going to be your country. This is going to be your state. More importantly, this is going to be your hometown. You have choices. From what I hear now, after talking to kids, that if you're clean, oftentimes, you're the ones who are the minority. It doesn't have to be that way. You can't accept the status quo. Lead now. Don't accept that this is the way it's going to be. Step up, make a difference, and say, no, it's not okay. It's not okay for our area to be headed the way it is. It's not okay for when I'm an adult that my area is going to look like this, and I'm the one who's going to make a difference. I had challenged the students to do this and take our communities back, make our area a safer, better place for you to grow and raise your own families.
So first of all, thank you all for joining us today. And it's been no secret in the news that Columbia County has been struggling with a sharp spike in meth labs. But it's also important to note that our local law enforcement agencies have been very aggressive in identifying meth labs and apprehending those responsible. The success that we've seen so far in identifying the meth labs is because we're seeing a great effort among local, regional, and state law enforcement agencies to work together to deal with this menace to our community. But the effort to deal with this problem doesn't just deal with our law enforcement. It must be fueled by an effort from every single one of us. When we're spending time with friends, heading to jobs, or doing our everyday activities, if any one of us encounters something that would lead to a drug arrest, it's important that we each take the crucial step of reporting what we've seen. And today I'm proud to welcome Pennsylvania's top law enforcement official to our gathering. Pennsylvania Attorney General Kathleen Kane was elected in 2012 after serving several years of distinguished service as an assistant district attorney in Lackawanna County. The Attorney General's office works together with law enforcement agencies across Columbia County and across Pennsylvania to identify and prosecute drug dealers and traffickers who bring illegal drugs into our communities, and to shut down the corrupt criminal organizations that profit from the drug sales. We face a serious drug issue in our community, but a tough stance from our local and state law enforcement agencies is having a very positive effect. I encourage you to give Attorney General Kane and her staff your full attention and learn how we each can play an important role in ridding our community from the threat of illegal drugs. It's my honor, my pleasure, to introduce to you Pennsylvania Attorney General Kathleen Kane.
Good morning. I am here for two reasons. I am 47 years old. I've been in law enforcement for almost 20 years, and I will tell you that drugs have always been a battle. They were a battle when I was in high school and college. They've been a battle all throughout my law enforcement career, but this is downright war. We are now at war. It has never been worse than it is now. The Center for Disease Control has said that prescription pill abuse and then the preceding heroin abuse is an epidemic in the United States. And I'm here to tell you that in Pennsylvania, it is no better. We are not the worst state by far, but we in law enforcement have no intention on getting there because the only one who loses is you and all of our communities. Your parents lose, you lose, our communities lose, and our future loses because you are our future. You have great futures ahead of you. You always have dreams. Everybody has hopes. Everybody has a future. Everybody has some place to go. You know, we have to reteach you what a drug dealer looks like. It used to be the guy in the white van with the long hair and the scraggly and sweaty and all disgusting out on the corner, right? That's what we all taught you that a heroin drug dealer looks like. But prescription drugs are different. And the new drug dealer looks exactly like the person who hands it to you. It could be anybody. It could be the cheerleader. It could be the football player. It could be your friend. It could be somebody that sits next to you in class. Anybody who hands you a prescription pill or prescription drug has now become a drug dealer, and you are in a very serious danger of getting hooked. So we need to reteach you what a drug dealer looks like. That's part of our education and outreach. We in law enforcement, then, if something happens, we go after the drug dealers. And unfortunately, the drug users get caught up in that. So we need you to be a part of our enforcement. There's only so far we can go. We don't have eyes and ears everywhere. We need you to report those crimes. And I'll tell you why. Because your friend may be the next one who gets hooked on prescription pills. Your friend, your brother, your younger sister, they may be the next ones. And we need you to step up to the plate. So, we're going to boil it down. We want you to listen to what we're saying because we're here to help you and help you to avoid becoming into that situation. We want you to be a part of this war. You are a part of our law enforcement team, and I want you to step up to the plate and save your friend. And 3, I want you to get the help that you need because we are here for you. I am here because I want you to know you have a future and we are here to help you. So thank you very much for having me. I want you to know that our staff is always available to you. All these fine ladies and gentlemen sitting over here are available to you as well. And your school clearly cares about you by putting this program together, gathering you all together so that we can show you that you are going to have great futures. Thank you.
Thank you, General Kane, for your remarks that are so apropos to what's going on in our community and the resources that we're trying to work together to put together to make available to all of our community. The next person up here is going to be Special Agent Holter, who is going to provide some information to you.
My name's Agent Janine Holter, and I work for the Pennsylvania Office of Attorney General, and I am very honored to be here today. And today we're here to talk about a very tender topic. It's a topic that a lot of us in here really don't like to talk about, but we need to talk about it. There's issues within your community. There's issues all throughout the United States and in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania about students, adults, that sometimes are making bad choices. They're making bad choices because they don't know what they want to do with the rest of their life, or they're unsure, or they're not confident enough in themselves to talk to others to say, how can you help me? What can you do for me? We're all here today to support you, to look out for you. Every single adult in this room, we care about you, and we want you to succeed. We live in a great country. You can do whatever you want, every single one of you in here. And we want you to always focus on your future goals. I brought a special guest with me today. He works for our Bureau of Narcotics Investigation Unit. We're going to call him Donnie. Of course, that's not his real name, but that's his undercover name. I brought him with me today because I want you to understand what we do. I want you to understand the impact of what drugs have on families and have on our communities. I'm going to ask Donnie some questions. Donnie, how long have you been with our office?
I've been with the Attorney General's office 15 years.
Can you tell me what your duties are?
My duties are, I'm an undercover narcotics agent. I'm to investigate drug users, drug dealers, through either confidential informants, making undercover buys in the streets, or using wiretap investigations in the community.
Could you explain to me what type of drugs are in our communities right now?
Right now, there are many drugs in our communities. We're seeing everything from marijuana to cocaine, to crack cocaine, to heroin, to methamphetamine, and also prescription medications.
Can you explain to me what is happening right now with prescription medications?
Prescription medications are being easily affordable, especially from students. Students are easily available to get them through either their parents without their parents' knowledge in their medicine cabinets, purchasing them through friends, or even through their aunts or uncles or grandparents going to their house and raiding their medicine cabinets and stealing the prescriptions from them.
I want every single one of you in here to understand what a prescription drug is. A prescription drug is given to you by a doctor. It's given to you for pain, for anxiety. It's given to you because you report a problem to the doctor. It's also given to you for your age, your height, and your weight. We have to be extremely aware of what a prescription drug is. It's not a Tylenol, it's not an Advil. It's not something that you can go to your local store and take off the shelf. Unfortunately, we've had students taken to the hospital because they ingest somebody else's prescription drugs. Unfortunately, we are seeing some students get addicted to prescription drugs and then they can't get a hold of them anymore. Then, unfortunately, we are seeing that they're turning to heroin use because heroin, unfortunately, is cheap and you can get it in your streets. We're proud of every single one of you that are sitting in this room. You have great futures ahead of you. I want you to think about that. I want you to think about that as I show you a story. It's a true story. I'm going to introduce you to Mike. It's a narration. He talks about his family, his friends, his drug use. I want you to listen to this story. Mike, if you met him, you would like him. He's a great guy. Nice, he'd give you his shirt off his back. Unfortunately, due to some choices Mike has made, his life has totally changed. I want you to listen to his story. I don't want anybody in this room to end up like Mike. Unfortunately, we see students and adults every day that make bad choices and make poor decisions. But we also see students every day that strive, that move successfully forward. That could be you. As you listen to the story of Mike, I want you to think about, would you ever get into that situation? What would you do? I would hope every single one of you in here would go, I need to go talk to somebody, because this isn't where I want to go. This isn't the path that I chose for myself. Listen to Mike's story, and then we'll discuss it.
My parents got divorced when I was 3. I lived with my mom my whole life. I wanted to make her proud. I wanted to excel for her, so she could feel like she had accomplished something through me. I started with just drinking. I told myself I'd never smoke weed or anything like that. And eventually I did that. I didn't really consider myself to have a problem. I kept experimenting with things, and then when I was 17, I got in a car accident. It was easy for me to just go and tell the doctor, look, I can't function in daily life. I can't keep a job like this. I can't keep my life going with this amount of pain. At first that was kind of true, and then it got to the point where I knew that wasn't the truth, but I didn't care because I was so used to that system of lying to him in order to get more medication. I went all the way from Percocet 10s, and then that escalated all the way to 80 milligram Oxycontin. It was 3, 4, 5 a day. I figured that I was doing well enough with it. I kind of looked at it like no doctors want to get in trouble for doing something wrong, so they're not going to really stop you. People would come to me and say, look, we know that there's something wrong with you. We know you're doing something. You obviously have a problem with some kind of substance. And I'd deny it. I'd play it off like I needed it in my life. In my mind, it was okay, but in reality, it was obvious to everybody. I realized that I had a habit and that it was more than I should be taking, but in my mind, I thought I could stop whenever I wanted. It turned out that I was coming up with less and less every month. I'd have less pills than I should have, and I'd have that period of withdrawal. That's how I ended up starting out with heroin. Heroin was cheap, and someone introduced me to that, and it took away the sickness. The first time I got it was through a friend. I was at a party, they saw I was sick, they said, "This'll help you out." The first time I didn't shoot it, the first time I sniffed it, afterward, I remember trying to sit up straight and I couldn't hear, and I just collapsed. It was probably like the strongest euphoria I've felt in my entire life, and from there on, I never looked back. It turned into me selling my prescriptions, selling the heroin on top of that. I was willing to do whatever. I didn't really think about the consequences. I was pretty much out of school at that point. I had started homeschool for the last couple years. I had gotten arrested in school. That gave me a lot of freedom. I was home all day. My parents weren't home, so I could just do whatever I wanted. There was a sense of, what am I doing with myself? I was seeing things fall away, but to me it wasn't as important. I thought that since I got those things in the first place, I could stop the drugs whenever I wanted and get those things right back. I remember the first time I went through a detox, my mom really thought that that would fix me. I was going to be totally better when I got out, and as soon as I got home, I was getting high again. It drove her to hopelessness. She really thought that there was nothing that could be done for me. The pills I was getting, the weed I was smoking and drinking, I didn't see that as the problem. That took away any motivation to get better. I would go to rehab, that wouldn't work. I'd go to jail, that wouldn't work. I'd overdose, that wouldn't change anything. My friends were dying around me, that didn't matter. I just constantly kept failing at everything, kept giving away what seemed like it mattered my whole life. I kept giving up all the desires I had. I finished high school, through homeschool. I had the opportunity to start college, and before I could even really let that pan out, I was arrested. I was at my mom's house, and I had a bunch of drugs on me, and I guess I blacked out, and she called the cops. They woke me up, said, you're under arrest, you're going to jail. Did the rehab thing, got out, and 8 hours later I had overdosed and was rearrested. The deal they wanted to give me was like a 2.5 to 5 year sentence. I feel pent up. The normal privileges of life that a lot of people take for granted, being able to watch TV, see your family, you get a couple phone calls a week if you're lucky. You wish you can go do what you want, and you can't. For me anyway, and for a lot of people I know, it was fun until it was too late. You don't realize it until it's too late. You think you're having a great time, and before you know it, you've lost everything. You're in a place like this, or you're in jail, or you're dead. I lost a ton of friends. I lost all the good friends that I grew up with. And my best friend, she died from an overdose. A good friend that I grew up with died in a car accident. He was taking pills and drinking, and they crashed on the way home. I had another good friend that mixed OxyContin with whiskey and didn't wake up. He, drowned in his vomit. I mean, really, the only people I know that did make it were the ones that were smart enough to get away from what I was doing. Addiction has no bias. It doesn't have to do with where you live, what kind of family you grew up in. It's not a matter of race, age, anything like that. It comes down to personal choices you're gonna make, and everyone faces them because these drugs are everywhere. I'd say the entire way my life panned out is my biggest regret. I mean, it seems to me like I've lost everything I really cared about. To an extent, I don't even know if I have a biggest regret. It's just the whole thing.
I want to talk to you about your community. We're all here today for a reason. We're here today to support you and to look out for you. Law enforcement, social services, teachers, adults are here to protect you. Here you are. Here's your school. This is you. You represent this building. You represent every student that's in here. Your resume will always say Central Columbia. What legacy are you going to leave at this school? This is your journey. This is your life, and this is your choices. I had the opportunity to talk to your Drug and Alcohol Commission, Columbia, Montour, Sullivan, Union counties. They cover 4 counties. I called them for a reason. I think we have to network and be team players. In order to do that, your Drug and Alcohol Commission, they mean something to you. Unfortunately, right now, their statistics for 2012, 2013, now they serve a total of 4 counties. Almost 600 people were interviewed for drug and alcohol issues. 242 of them reported that they were Columbia County residents. Think about that for a minute. They served 4 counties. They served 599 people. The age groups that they serve, who got evaluated, who needed treatment. Right now, 18 to 21 years of age, 52. But look back for a minute. They interviewed a 5-year-old. A 5-year-old. I want you to think about that for a minute. What's their drugs of choice? What are they reporting using? Alcohol, opiates, prescription drugs, heroin, marijuana. Polysubstance means more than one substance. They're using 2 to 3 to 4. I share those statistics with you because this is you. This is your life. You don't have to be a statistic. Nobody in this room has to be a statistic for drug use. You have to ask yourself, how are you going to make changes? There is power in numbers. So if we stand together and say, I don't want drug users, drug dealers, I don't want to have these problems here. How can we help? What could we make different? We need to work together, every single one of us in this room. We need to report it to others. We need to look out for our friends. If we have somebody that's dabbling in drug use, they need to talk to somebody, because every single one of you in here are a future leader.
That's all the time we have for today's program. I'm State Representative David Millard. If you have need for assistance with any state government matter, feel free to contact me at my local office or through my website. That information will be shown in a moment. Thanks for watching, and please join me next time for another edition of Legislative Report.